worship you. I worship you. And you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. And you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are here, turning lives around. I worship you, I worship you. You are here and you're healing every heart. I worship you, yeah, I worship you. And you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. And you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. And that is who you are. Yeah, that is who you are. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop. Jesus, you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. I know you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. And that is who you are. That is who you are. Jesus, that is who you
Well, good morning, good afternoon, everybody from Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Scenic Tulsa.
Scenic
Oklahoma.
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
We have a great view outside of the hotel window here
Yeah.
of the Han Distribution Center. Gorgeous.
And Mathis Brothers Furniture right
Mathis
next
Brothers
door to
Furniture.
that. And yeah, and some other big church back there. So, and then you have my messy hotel room bed back there. And my good-looking nephew right here, who is, I guess, still single and looking. You on the market or not on the market?
Oh, yeah, no. It's
Still on the market?
still on the market.
Still on the market. So we're taking offers and bids. So anybody knows anybody or whatever,
Send them my number.
send them your number. So yeah, we're here in Tulsa. I got to go to Rhema this morning, so that was good to be in service there. And it's always good. You know, Robyn and I met there in 1991. So it always feels like home whenever we have the opportunity to go back to church. And so yeah, I got to tell you this. I just remembered this. I got to tell you this. So I'm sitting in service. Well, service finishes, and this chick comes up and starts talking to me. And she says,
I wasn't sitting with him, by the way.
no, because I couldn't find you. My phone
Yeah.
went off, and for some reason, our texting thing wasn't jiving. But anyway.
Right.
So anyway, she comes up and she says, she asked me my name, and because she thought I was in this certain movie that she watched. And
Okay.
it's like, what movie? She said, oh, it was Anaconda. It's like, Anaconda? I wasn't this.
Jennifer Lopez.
And I said, well, who are you talking about? She said, I thought, it was John Voight. I was like, who's John Voight? And so Robyn had texted me a picture. Like, okay, it's another older guy with longer hair that's getting kind of grayish, and like, okay, I don't want to be known
Yeah,
as
John Voight's like 80 years old.
like, I don't look like I'm 80 years old. I don't think I'm 80 years old. But so Lori Sarsona, this is all your fault for starting all of this stuff. But I did tell Robyn, I said, maybe we just need to move to Hollywood. So,
There you go. Yeah.
but no, that ain't gonna happen either. But
No.
anyway, sure love everybody. Good morning. Hey, Lag, how's it going?
Hey, anti-lag.
Jerry, lots of people there at home. But anyway, I'm not going to say much today. Mr. Ian Brown is going to talk to us a little bit. And then as soon as we finish, I'm supposed to go to Rogers Church and preach
you're
for him
gonna go
there.
preach.
And so,
2 p.m. Well,
yeah.
2-ish.
But anyway, so I'm not, I'm just kind of along for the ride here.
All
I'm just
right.
kind of here to,
Well, I just got done
Be the
eating
sidekick.
Panda Express, so hopefully I don't fall asleep.
can you smell it? I can smell it.
Yeah,
I can still smell the
still
pan.
on my breath, probably. You're sitting way too close together for this camera.
Yikes.
Yeah, so I was just
Well, Ian's been doing a lot. He's got this podcast, which is
Yes.
really great. And we should put the link up somewhere. And so if you guys haven't subscribed to his podcast, you really should.
It's called the Bible Schooled Podcast.
How
If
do
you
they
have an
find
iPhone, it is on iTunes and the Apple Podcasts app.
So how do they find it on iTunes? If they type in
Yeah,
your
they
name?
just type it in. Just type in the Bible Schooled Podcast.
Okay.
It'll come up.
How do you spell schooled? It's not spelled different, right?
SCHOOLED.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just make sure you didn't spell it SK or anything.
No, not weird.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's a Bible School podcast. It's on iTunes. It's also on Spotify. If you have Spotify, it's on the Anchor app. It's on Overcast, and we are working on getting it on Google Play. So
How cool is
that'll come
that?
soon. It's for all you Android people out there.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So on my show, we do a lot of theology and Bible School podcast, and so we're gonna do that. We're gonna dig into the Old Testament a little bit, but first, I was kind of gonna jump off of the book of Philippians, chapter 3, and I'll read verse 4 and 6. And so we're in your hotel. I use the Bible app on my phone, so I went to church. I took my phone. I didn't bring a physical Bible, but I thought I would grab the Gideon Bible out of the hotel room so I could read a physical copy.
And we were trying to figure out what version it was, and finally we did.
Yeah,
So-
it's the ESV, which
ESV.
it's my preferred version anyway, so it worked out
Right
perfectly.
on.
So in Philippians chapter 3, the Apostle Paul is speaking, and he says that, for we are the circumcision, this is verse 3, who worship by the Spirit of God and glory in Christ Jesus and put no confidence in the flesh, though I myself have reason for confidence in the flesh also. And now he's going to list his pedigree. If anyone else thinks he has reason for confidence in the flesh, I have more. Circumcised on the 8th day, of the people of Israel, of the tribe of Benjamin, a Hebrew of Hebrews, as to the law of Pharisee, as to zeal, a persecutor of the church, as to righteousness under the law, blameless. Okay, that's a heavy statement. As to righteousness under the law, blameless. How can you say that? This is the same guy. If you read the book of Romans 3, which he's actually quoting the Psalms in Romans 3, but Paul says, there is no one who is righteous, no, not one.
Mhm.
So how does he say this in Philippians 3, as to righteousness under the law, blameless? Well,
Yeah, what's up with that?
what's up with that? Well, for Paul lived within a narrative. So we do this, right? Some people call it a worldview, but I like the word narrative because we're story people, right? That's why Hollywood makes millions of dollars, billions of dollars every year, because we're story people. We love to tell and hear stories.
Yeah.
And stories make sense of the world. So Paul lived within a narrative, and you do too, even if you don't realize it. We all do. And most of the time, just to give an example, here's a basic narrative that people live within, right? This is who my father is. This is who my mother is. This is who my grandparents are. I am part of this family. And that helps make sense
Right.
of my life, right?
Right.
My father was a businessman, so I'm going to go into business.
Right.
My father was a preacher. My grandfather was a preacher. I'm going to be a preacher.
Right.
So for Paul, there are many narratives that people live within. For Paul, his narrative, his main one, was the narrative within the Old Testament of the law.
Right.
The law that was given to Moses at Sinai by God. He was zealous for the law. He says, as to zeal, a persecutor of the church. So Paul can say that as to righteousness under the law, he can say that he was blameless because within his narrative, there was actually a model for righteousness under the law. And this comes from the story of a guy named Phineas. So if you don't know who Phineas is, Phineas was...
Not the cartoon, right?
Not the cartoon with Ferb. There's 104 days of summer vacation. Not that Phineas with the long nose. No, but Phineas in the book of Numbers was Aaron's grandson. He was a priest. He was a young priest. And if you go back to Numbers 25, crazy story. Well, back up. So after the Exodus, they go out into the wilderness, and eventually they end up on the border of Moab, and they get into a fight with these two kings, Sihon of the Amorites and Og, the king of Bashan. And the Israelites, they wipe the floor with these two kings and their people because they're getting ready to go into the promised land. And they are on the border of a country named Moab. And the king of Moab, named Balak, is freaked out because he's like,
I'm glad that wasn't my name.
We're next. I'm glad your name's not Balak either. It'd be really weird if I was here calling you Uncle Balak.
Balak.
Yeah. So Balak's freaked out. He's like, we're going to be next. So he calls this prophet named Balaam.
Yeah.
And you remember the story of Balaam and the donkey from children's church probably. So he calls Balaam over and he's like, I want you to put a curse on these Israelites. And so Balaam's like, okay. But God turns the curse into blessings.
Yeah.
And really famous scripture, you cannot curse what God has already blessed.
Yeah.
But Balaam wants to have his cake and eat it too. So he tells Balak a way to still get one over on the Israelites. So I'm sorry, I didn't curse them. God turned what I was going to say into an oracle of blessing, but here's how you can still, get one over on the Israelites. And Numbers 25:1 says that the Israelites, they began to play the harlot with the Moabites, with the Midianites. And through that sexual immorality, it says they yoked themselves to the Baal of Peor. So they were committing idolatry, they were committing all this sexual sin. And if you research the Baals and how they worship the Baals back in the ancient world, it was a lot of crazy stuff. They would have these big, crazy orgies. They would cut themselves with knives.
Wow.
Just all kinds of weird, nasty, crazy stuff. And so Numbers 25 says, all this was happening and a plague broke out in the Israelite camp. Plague broke out. 24,000 Israelites died in Numbers 25. And if you read that chapter, there's a story of a young Israelite man who takes a Moabite woman and brings her into his tent to commit sin with her. And he does this in front of Moses, in front of all the priests, in front of the entire assembly of Israel.
Oh my gosh.
While the Israelites are lamenting at the tabernacle.
Oh my gosh.
So it's just this brazen, you know.
You think.
Yeah. Just complete disregard for God, complete disregard
It's
for
like in
his
your
law,
face type thing.
for his presence
Yeah.
in your face. So the young priest Phineas, in a zealous, righteous anger, this is a crazy story. He gets a spear. He follows the Israelite and the Moabite woman into the tent, kills them, and the plague stops. And God was pleased. In fact, Psalm 106 is the last mention of Phineas in the Bible. Psalm 106 says that what Phineas did on that day was reckoned to him as righteousness. It was credited to him as righteousness. You can go read it. It's in Psalm 106. So this is what the narrative is that Paul is living. This is he's defining his life
Yeah.
through this story. He says he was zealous for the law. He was a Hebrew of Hebrews, a Pharisee among Pharisees. So, I mean, imagine, we think about Saul's conversion from Saul to Paul, but he wasn't converted like an atheist into a believer, because he always worshiped the same God. When he was Saul, he was worshiping the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. When he was Paul, he was still worshiping the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The only difference was he was worshiping the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob as revealed in the person of Jesus Christ.
Right.
But it took a monumental shift to get to that point. And so you can imagine Saul, the great persecutor of the church, killing Christians. Paul wasn't a maniac. He wasn't like a serial killer who was just killing for fun, right? There was a purpose. There was a religious purpose to his actions. So you can imagine a young, zealous Jew, a Pharisee, a Hebrew of Hebrews, living within this tradition, who has this, he's like the new Phineas. That's how he sees himself. Zealous for the law.
Mm-hmm.
And so when this other group of Jews start worshiping a man who was crucified by the Romans, a false Messiah who was hung on a tree.
Right.
And you remember, cursed is any man
Yeah.
who hangs on a tree. You're worshiping a cursed man.
Wow.
So to him, that couldn't stand.
Right.
He had to do something before another plague came out,
Right.
something worse. So like this group of people had to be stopped. That was why he was such a great persecutor of the church. And then you get to the road to Damascus. He's on his way to the city called Damascus. He has authority from the temple to round up Christians, and he encounters God. He encounters the Messiah. And Jesus appears to him powerfully, knocks him off of his donkey,
Wow.
and Paul says, "Who are you, Lord?" And Jesus says, "I am Jesus. I'm the one you're persecuting. It is hard for you to kick against the goats."
What's a goad?
I don't know.
Not a toad, but
Not
a
a
goad.
toad, not a goat. I did know, but I forgot. So I can't remember. Maybe I'll talk about it on my next podcast.
Okay.
But
All right. Let us know what a
it'll
goad
be
is.
episode 22. What is a goad? But Paul encounters Jesus, and he says, "I'm the one you've been persecuting." And Paul gets blinded. He has to be led by the hand into the city until the Lord speaks to Ananias to come, minister to him. But think about that. He has this radical encounter with Christ. He's blinded, and his entire worldview, his entire model of how to relate to God has been shattered.
Yeah, big time.
Because the way he related to God was this zeal for the law.
Right.
Like that was his righteousness.
Right.
And what is righteousness? Well,
Kick
righteousness.
butt.
Yeah.
For them.
kick butt for Jesus, or not for
Yeah.
Jesus, for
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
for Yahweh. But what is righteousness? Righteousness is right standing with God.
Right.
Or you could say righteousness is right relationship with
Right.
God. So for Paul, his whole idea of being in a right relationship with God was to be zealous for the law. Like that was his model. That was his understanding. That was his narrative.
Right.
We have a comment. A goad was a spike used for driving cattle. Thank you.
Thanks, Dale.
Yes.
I knew you could bring it.
I appreciate
You're
that.
amazing.
Audience coming through. I appreciate it too. So yeah, that was his whole model for
Yeah.
righteousness. And it's been absolutely shattered by the road to Damascus experience, where he sees this vision of Jesus. And so I can imagine him sitting in his room. He's still blinded,
Yeah.
mind you.
Man, what would that would have felt like if you were Paul?
Right.
That's trippy. I'm sorry I didn't mean.
No. Not
Robyn's
only,
used to being interrupting her all
Right.
the time, but
That's fine. Not only yeah, not only have you been struck down off of your donkey and blinded by the glory of God,
Yeah.
but also like mentally what you're dealing with.
Oh, yeah.
When all that you've known turns out to be wrong.
Wow. Yeah.
So you can imagine him going back, where did I miss it? Just thinking, going over the scriptures that he knew intimately. Like he studied at the feet of Gamaliel, one of the great Pharisees of antiquity. So like he knew the Old Testament inside and out. And I can imagine him sitting there blinded going, where did I miss it? Racking his brain until at some point it finally dawns on him. There was one other guy in the Old Testament, in the Jewish scriptures, who it is said of that he did something and it was reckoned or credited to him as righteousness.
Uh-huh.
You know who it is.
Uh-huh.
Father Abraham.
Uh-huh.
Abraham, Genesis 15. Abraham believed God, and it was credited or reckoned to him as righteousness.
Yeah.
So in that story, God comes down and he says to Abraham, he takes him outside of his tent and says that, look, he says to Abraham, look at the stars in the sky. Can you number them? And Abraham's like, no, of course not. And so God says to Abraham, that's how many descendants that you're going to have. And Abraham believed that, and it was credited to him as righteousness. But in Hebrews 11, that promise wasn't fulfilled right away. Hebrews 11:11 says that by faith, Sarah received power to conceive even when she was past the age, since she considered him faithful who had promised. So, they were old.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah was 90, Abraham was 100.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that's just not childbearing age.
What if they were still driving? No, just randoms out there.
Right,
No.
camels,
Yeah.
driving the camels, the donkeys. But, Abraham and Sarah, he had to consider not the deadness
Right.
of Sarah's womb.
Right.
And by faith, they conceived. Well, of course, they tried to make it happen on their own. They got
Right.
Ishmael, and that didn't work out well. But by faith, they conceived the child of promise, Isaac. So the whole idea is that Abraham and Sarah, they believed that God could bring life out of death.
Right.
They considered not the deadness of Sarah's womb. And that was credited to him as righteousness. So how does that apply to us? Well, we believe that God brought something out of death. We believe that God brought life out of death
Sure.
in the person of Jesus
Right.
at the crucifixion.
Right.
The Lord died for us. He was crucified. And it looked like it was over. But God rose him.
Mm-hmm.
He brought him out. He got up out of the grave. So God brought life out of death in the person of Jesus. And if you can believe that, it will be credited to you as righteousness in the model of Abraham,
Yeah.
believing God
Yeah.
and receiving righteousness. That is the basis. That's how we relate to God, by believing in him,
Uh-huh.
by believing what he's done in the person of Jesus, and believing in all the things that the death and the burial and the resurrection of Christ gives us.
That's
Salvation, and not just salvation, but healing, physical healing is part of the atonement, Isaiah 53. So, I
So
mean,
very
the
good.
model, that's the model of how we relate to God.
Uh-huh.
The model of righteousness is to believe him as Abraham believed him and receive the promise.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's good. It's
Brings
so much.
Life
Yes,
out of death.
he brings life out of death. Excuse
Yeah.
me while I sip my drink from Panda Express. But yeah, we try so hard sometimes, subconsciously, to be to live with that Phineas model.
Right.
Like I have to do.
Right.
I have to work. Well, like, yeah, you should work. You should do, right? Just read the book of James. You should do good things.
Sure.
But that's not the model for righteousness. The model for righteousness comes from believing God. So why do I follow God's commands? Why do I tithe?
Yeah.
Well, it's because under the model of righteousness, as far as believing goes, like, I tithe because it reminds me that this is not my own.
Mm-hmm.
This money is not mine. It belongs to God. And so when I give that tithe, it postures my heart to trust God.
Right.
With my finances.
Right.
Why do I fast? Well, I fast not because I'm twisting God's arm to get a blessing. I fast because it postures my heart. It deprives my flesh, and it postures my spirit man to be
so
more able to trust God and
That's
to
so
believe
good.
in Him.
That's so good.
Yeah.
True.
Very true. Believe God. It's that easy.
I like the new model.
I like the new model too.
The new model is
It's far better.
better than the old model.
Yes.
It's the latest, greatest.
the latest, greatest.
The new model.
Most up to date.
Most up to date.
Yes.
Yeah,
The blood of Christ. It speaks a better word, Book of
does.
Hebrews says.
it does. So good.
It's good.
Is that it? Are you finished? Because I didn't know what you was going to talk about.
No, that's what I had. I just wanted to encourage, everyone to just believe God. 2020, we talk about it too much, but it's been a weird year.
It has.
For everyone.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Like a lot of struggle, and you might be in a place where things look barren and dead, and you're like, I don't know how I'm gonna make it. A lot of people have lost jobs, things like that. Just hold fast,
Right.
It took some time between the promise and the manifestation for Abraham, but he held fast to the promise, and he believed God, and God took care of him. Just look at the life of Paul. This model of righteousness, where you believe God, is played over and over again in the life of Paul, through prison, through beatings, through persecutions.
Wow, yeah.
Yet Paul can say that in all these things, like, I'm content because I can do anything through Christ. I can live in any situation, and my God shall supply all my needs according to His
amazing.
riches and glory.
So no matter what's going on, in essence, what you're saying, no matter what's going on in your life, and Robyn's coming on here, really good stuff. New
Thank
model
you.
is our model. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Priscilla, the model of righteousness, believe God, love it. Yep. It is good. It's very, very good. So, no matter what's going on in your life, all we have to do is just trust in the new model.
Yeah.
The new model is going to see us through. We just believe God.
Just believe God.
We're going to come out on top.
Pastor Hagen said it this morning, just, I believe the Bible. God said it. I believe it.
And that settles
That settles it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So good, so good. So that's it today from Tulsa, Oklahoma. So glad you could be on here today.
Yeah, me too.
I miss
I
seeing
had fun. Miss seeing you. I'll have to do it more.
you. Yeah, maybe we can do some more
Yeah.
remotely or something. Tulsa, Nashville,
Right.
whatever. And plus, we'll be here for in December, so maybe we can do another one then. Who knows?
Yeah,
maybe
who knows what the future
maybe your
holds.
Auntie Robyn will jump on. We'll see. I know
That'll be
she's.
fun.
I don't know if we can fit 3 people.
Well, probably not in Aloft, but
Yeah.
somewhere. We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. Absolutely. But believing God is always the answer. Sure is. It's always the answer. You can never go wrong with that. So right, Robyn. But anyway, I guess that's it. So be sure to, hey Phyllis, aloha.
Aloha.
Hello from Georgia. That's right. Amen. So be sure to share this on your page and sign up.
Yes.
Subscribe to your Bible Schooled
Bible Schooled podcast. Yeah.
on Apple iTunes,
Apple iTunes.
You're on Spotify.
On Spotify.
So just type in Bible Schooled, and it should
Yes,
pop up
it'll
there.
pop up
Your
there.
name will be on there too, right? So
Yeah, my
that's-
name will be on there as well. So I think I'm the only podcast with the name Bible School Podcast. So
And then there's the Anchor app. I'm
there's the
familiar with
Anchor
that
app. There's Overcast.
one. Okay.
Is another platform, and soon we'll be on Google Play. If you have an Android, we'll be on Google Play soon. So
Yeah. And maybe one of these days we'll have some videos.
working on it. Yeah,
That would be good.
yeah.
Yeah. But we sure love everybody. Thank you so much for listening today. Thanks, Dale. You have a wonderful day too. Where are you at today? Are you in Indiana? Or are you in Tennessee or California, Montana? I think it was Montana where you're at one of these times. But anyway, thank you for listening and share this. And I guess that's it for now.
That's it for now.
You want to say goodbye?
Goodbye, everyone. Hope you all have a wonderful Sunday afternoon. It's a beautiful day out here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So I hope it's beautiful wherever you're at. Well, half of your audience is in Hawaii, so I mean, I
It
know
is.
it's beautiful back home.
Yeah, yeah.
I hope to see all you guys.
Yeah, we were just talking because we
Yeah.
had the Weather Channel on, and I don't know where all this
right.
mess was going on with snow and
Yeah,
big
they were
trucks. Is
like-
that like real stuff right now?
I don't know.
But anyway, I didn't like it. I told him, I said, winter is from hell. And then you got to tell him this revelation,
Oh yeah, so yeah,
because this is true. This is so good. I said, winter is from hell, at least in my opinion,
in his opinion. And I said, I think
because I don't like cold weather.
C.S. Lewis, you all know C.S. Lewis. I think C.S. Lewis agreed with you.
Yes.
Because when he wrote
Hear that, Robyn? Listen.
when he wrote The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe,
Yeah.
when Narnia was under control of the White Witch, it says that Narnia was always winter but never Christmas in Narnia. That's what C.S.
Wow.
Lewis wrote in The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe. And then when Aslan and the Pevensey children, when they break the curse, the snow melts.
And it warms up
And
in
it warms
summertime.
up. Yep. So
See that?
I mean, yeah.
That's all the witness I need right
It's
there.
all the witness. C.S. Lewis. Can't beat that.
Can't beat it.
Can't beat it.
You're a good man.
Thank you.
27 years old.
27.
Wow.
That's weird. to think about.
And Ian is still here. He works for the ministry here at Rhema,
Mm-hmm.
and their partner services department, and
Yep.
does all kinds of stuff at church. Who knows whatever they need. You're always
I
doing
just do what
something.
they ask.
Just do
you know?
whatever they ask.
Yeah.
And, yeah. So I love you and I miss you.
Love you
and
too. Miss you.
Wish we all just kind of lived a little bit
Yeah.
closer with all of
Who
these.
knows what the future has in store, though?
Yeah.
So good things, I know. Whatever
Absolutely.
the Lord has, but miss everyone back home in Hawaii. Hopefully, I'll see you all at some point in 2021.
That'd be good.
Whenever.
It'd be cool if we could all
I don't have to
coordinate.
quarantine for 14 days when I get there.
Be
So-
good if we could like coordinate
Right.
when everybody can get back to the islands
Yeah.
at the same time, and that would be kind of cool. So
We'll have to work that out.
it can happen. Most
Amen.
definitely can happen. But we love everybody. I guess we're gonna sign off now, like for the third time.
Right.
And so this is it. It's really it. So I'm gonna push the button, and it's gonna be over. And here it goes. Bye, everybody.